What's going on, guys? It's Danny with Gear Candy, and today we're going to be doing a phone review. We've got the Huawei Mate 9 Pro. God, that's a mouthful. There's a Huawei Mate 9. This is the Pro version of that phone, kind of like an S model. A lot of companies are doing this now, so let's dig into this phone and see what we got. First and foremost, we've got a dual Leica camera in the rear of the phone. There's a 12 megapixel sensor as well as a 20 megapixel sensor. The 12 megapixel sensor works on color, while the 20 megapixel sensor works on monochrome settings, finer details, that sort of thing. And it's from Leica, so Huawei worked with Leica on this camera. If you're familiar with photography, you'll know that Leica is one of the top companies in that space. They've got super expensive cameras, extremely high quality stuff. So the fact that Huawei is working with them on this camera is a huge boon for the phone. It also comes back with optical image stabilization as well as 4K recording. All of this sounds really good on paper. In my real world use, was it the best camera I've ever used? You know, you read it, Leica, all these specs. Unfortunately, it was not. Coming from the Google Pixel XL and the iPhone 7, when I hear a name like Leica, I'm expecting it to destroy those phones, and it really doesn't. And in many ways, the Pixel and the iPhone 7, the photos just look a whole lot better than this phone. It's not to say that the pictures were bad, they weren't bad, but they just weren't as good as the Pixel or the iPhone 7. And with a company like Leica, I was expecting just to be blown away. Continuing with the juicy specs on this phone is that screen. Now, you guys know I'm a bit of a screen snob, and when it comes to this phone, I have nothing but good things to say. We've got a QHD panel, 5.5 inch OLED. The colors pop, the blacks are nice and dark. Everything's very contrasty and sharp because of that QHD resolution. I have nothing bad to say about this screen. It is absolutely amazing to use. Everything looks awesome. Pictures look great on it. It's a joy to use. Alongside with this awesome screen is the thin bezels. We've got a very slight curve on each side of the screen itself. They actually don't use the side curves to display different information. I think what they're really just going for here is really thin bezels, and they've definitely achieved that with this phone. At the ends of the phone, the phone sort of pinches on each end and makes it real easy to use. It feels really comfortable in the hand because it doesn't feel like a thick phone on the edges of the phone. It's not the thinnest phone you'll ever have, but on the edges it's extremely thin, so it gives the feel of a very thin device. Phone weighs at about 169 grams, so it's not a heavy phone per se. It feels really good when you're holding it. It doesn't fatigue you as you're using it to watch movies or anything like that. We've also got dual SIM support on this phone, so if you need a second SIM, if you travel a lot, if you go to other countries, or if you just want to have two lines coming straight to your phone, two different numbers, you can do that with this device, and you can actually aggregate both SIMs so that you can get dual, let's say 4G connections to the phone to aggregate the bandwidth and get more speed than 4G. Another cool thing about the hardware, guys, is the phone actually comes with this Huawei case, an OEM case with the phone. What a novel concept. I wish more companies would do this, guys. Why is it that you spend so much money on a phone and then you have to go out and shell out another 30, 40 bucks for a case? And every time a manufacturer decides to make a case, it's always the best case out there compared to the third-party solutions. So it makes perfect sense for them to make the case and include it with the phone. As far as the color choices for this device goes, we've got a haze gold, which is this one that I've got right here, and we've also got a titanium gray. As far as storage goes, again, two options. We've got 64 gigabyte and 128 gigabytes of storage. This thing is chock full of specs. We're looking at an octa-core processor. That's 8 cores. 4 of them are running at 2.4 gigahertz. The other 4 are running at 1.8 gigahertz. We have an octa-core GPU, 8 cores again, just for the GPU. And then we have DDR4, 6 gigabytes of memory. What the hell? That's a desktop, guys. So altogether, it's 16 cores running this phone with 6 gigs of memory. That's insane. It's mind-blowing how much power these phones have these days. One of the things about this phone is, on paper, it's a beast. It's a beast of a device, but 8 cores, I'm raising that bar real high. And I can tell you right now, guys, it's not the smoothest phone you're ever gonna use. This particular phone, when I was hitting it hard, I'd get a little bit of slowdown on it, especially with the keyboard. I'd be typing, nothing's showing up, that sort of thing. And if it's running 8 cores, I mean, seriously, 8 cores, and you still gonna have some lag on it. So of course it's not running stock Google. They've got their little skin on top of it. I think it's called EMUI or something like that. And that's really the issue with these phones. Google designs Android to run on a specific phone, why would you take that operating system, put it on another phone, and then switch up the operating system by putting a skin on it? The least you can do is take that phone, put the operating system on it, and just let it be. Regular Android runs fine. Now the Octacore GPU is absolutely no slouch. Every single game that I threw out this thing played absolutely well, didn't give me any issues with slowdown, there was no load issues, everything worked as it should. I tried to throw really high graphic games at it, as well as more simple games. Every single game that I tried on it had absolutely no issue, and it looks like they got the cooling down well because I was able to play all these games and the phone never overheated, never got super hot, as I've experienced with other Android phones in the past. The audio on this phone is one of the best I've heard on any phone, period. At first I thought it was a single speaker device because I saw the holes down here and I figured it's just a single speaker just like every other phone. But then as I'm using the phone and I'm listening to it, I'm like, this is not a single speaker, there's a stereo kind of presence coming out of it. And I noticed that the earpiece doubles as the second speaker. So that's a real clever design, guys. It sounds really good, it goes really loud, but most of all, it's clear and they've got the stereo thing down well on this device. Now to unlock the device, you can either do the traditional method of putting in a number code or password, but of course they've got a fingerprint sensor right on it. Very reminiscent of the Samsung S7 Edge. It works really well. Put your thumb on it, it unlocks every time. I didn't have an issue with this phone as I've had with others where you put your thumb on there and it doesn't register. Pretty much every time that I used it, it worked just fine. So 4,000 milliamp hour battery. The battery lasts all day. At the end of the day, which is about 10, 11 p.m. for me, from about 6 a.m. in the morning, I still have about 50% battery on. There's absolutely no need to really charge it. And then to make it even better, they include fast charging with it. You can charge a whole day's worth of battery in about 20 minutes. Now, as far as some of the software features on this phone, Huawei's put a couple different things with their skin. There's a few of them I'd like to mention on this device. So let's go with the first one. The first one's gonna be screenshotting. I screenshot a lot of different things. To do it on this phone, you take your knuckle and you just double tap it twice and it'll screenshot the whole screen. The next is sort of a smart screenshot. You take your knuckle, you trace around where you're trying to screenshot, and it'll screenshot just whatever you traced. The next feature is an awesome feature if you're into social media, if you're a content creator. It's called App Twin. What App Twin is a clone of an app so that you can log into that clone with 2 different profiles. This is very useful if you've got 2 different profiles that you manage throughout the day. You don't have to log out, log back in. Great feature. I've never seen this actually on another phone, so this is a good standout feature for Huawei. And last but not least is the navigation key. We've got software buttons on this phone, and a lot of times what these manufacturers do is they make them single option, right? It's if left is back, you cannot change that. With the navigation feature, you can change which software key is the back button, so that if you're perhaps a right-handed person or left-handed person, whatever your preference is, you can still manipulate which software key does what. All right, so let's talk about some of the cons of this device. First is the price. Granted, this is a flagship phone. This is Huawei's most expensive phone that they make, and it's probably the highest spec phone that they have in the market right now. This phone currently costs $810 on Amazon. Now, when you compare it to the Google Pixel or the iPhone 7 or even the Samsung S7 Edge, $810, due to some of the problems that I had with it, I can't say that it's really worth it. I'd say it's probably more of a $600 phone in my book. There's no mention of waterproofing on this phone, so I didn't test that out. I wasn't gonna put water on it if the box doesn't say that it's waterproof, so I'm assuming no waterproofing on this phone. There's no wireless charging on this phone. Half the industry's leaning towards wireless charging, the other isn't. I prefer wireless charging. I had it with the Samsung S7 Edge. It's an awesome feature if you're just gonna put your phone down at work on your desk. And of course, there were some software quality issues that I had with this phone. The first was with the Huawei keyboard. That keyboard was it was almost unusable. I was really forcing it the first day. I was trying to use it as much as possible with my chatting apps, WhatsApp, sending people text messages, but I just couldn't use it. It was just so slow. As you know, I'm a pretty fast typer, and as I'm typing, I don't even see the keys coming up on the screen as I'm typing, so it's like I gotta stop, let it catch up, and then keep on typing. It got to the point where it just got super annoying. I switched it out for the Google keyboard and it worked a lot better. Next is the Huawei messaging app. This thing was, I couldn't even use it. Every time I try to text somebody, it'd give me an error. It just wasn't working at all. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that this is an international phone, but it should still work. So I swapped that out for Google Messenger, but it wasn't all roses. For some reason, I couldn't receive SMS pictures, even with Google Messenger. I could just text people back and forth. So that was kind of weird. I don't know why that was happening, but it doesn't happen on any of my other phones using the same application. So I'd have to isolated to this device. And lastly is the cell phone connectivity was kind of spotty in this device. I was getting a lot of drop calls. I was getting connectivity errors. You're trying to refresh apps like Facebook and whatnot on places that I know the reception is good. Is this a phone that I would recommend to somebody? At this present time, given how much this phone costs, there are other phones that I would recommend besides this phone. Now, with that being said, it is a great spec phone, 6 gig of memory, octa-core processor, octa-core GPU, you got the Leica camera, you know, on paper, the thing is just stunning. It's not always about specs, guys. You gotta use these phones, you gotta use the devices that you buy. Don't just buy something blindly and think that it's gonna work just because on paper it looks amazing. But overall, I would have to say it wasn't a bad phone. There's just better phones out there. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you have a Huawei Mate 9 Pro? Or maybe you have a Huawei Mate 9? Let me know what the differences are if you've experienced both devices, or if you have one or the other, let me know what it's been for you so far. I was surprised to see a phone from Huawei with the specs that it has, so it's definitely a good thing that the company is headed in that direction. I'm expecting a lot better things from Huawei after this device. I think this will be a great learning device for Huawei, and in the future, we're probably gonna see some amazing phones coming from that company. Please like the video, guys, if you enjoyed the content, and don't forget to subscribe.